Well, thank you all so much. I'm very thrilled to be with you in Fremont County. I grew up in northeastern El Paso County, so just a little ways up the road, where my parents still live. And I love going to visit when I get sick of the city. I live in Centennial near Aurora, Colorado, and it is always good when there's just been too much city life to go out to Peyton, Colorado and wake up in the morning and see Pikes Peak out my parents' window. I love that. So, I'm always down for coming to counties like Fremont, and I do want to be in all of our counties across Colorado. When I ran for chairman, I promised that in the first year, I would travel to all 64 counties in Colorado, because it is my view that the state chairman's role is to serve the counties of Colorado. For too long, our state party has done its own thing and had a top-down control theory for our county parties. Thank you so much. And instead, what we need is to have a service-oriented organization. Well, all the auctions are now closed. You all have. Hopefully you won what you bid on. Another thing I'd like to tell you about winning the chairman's race is we had a historic moment in Colorado. It is the first time a woman and a mother has been elected chairman of the Colorado Republican Party in 40 years. But more than that, it was the first time with my election and Priscilla Ron as our vice chairman and the wonderful Marilyn Harris as our secretary. It is the first time any major political party in Colorado has ever elected an all-woman team of officers. The Colorado Sun is actually the paper that discovered that, because they looked in the Democrats' bylaws. This is a true story. As much as I'd love to make it up, it's actually flat out true. They looked in the Democrat bylaws, and in their state party bylaws, they do not allow the election of a chairman and a vice chairman of the same gender. How they square that with their current theory on gender, I am not sure. But if you run for chairman or vice chairman in the Democrat state party, you have to balance it with whoever wins the top seat. If you're the wrong gender, well then I guess you're just out of luck. I recently did an interview with Colorado Public Radio when I got elected chairman, and here's the way they asked what our plan would be for Colorado. They said, well, you once helped with a recall of your state legislator, who's a Democrat, Tom Sullivan, if you know who he is. And they said, and you failed. And Priscilla Ron ran for CU Regent and failed in the primary. And Marilyn Harris once ran for state representative and failed. Is this a team that can win for Colorado? These are the unbiased questions we get from Colorado Public Radio. And this is on live radio, so you can go and listen to it. And I said to them, I said, let me tell you what our team won. We won a historic moment in Colorado for women that the Democrats had not even been able to deliver. And as I was doing this interview, it was over Zoom. They wouldn't let me in their office because I hadn't had a vaccine, even though I've had COVID, so pretty sure I have the antibodies. But anyway, that was their only measure, is that since I didn't have a vaccine, I couldn't go live. And so I could see on the Zoom camera, they had their fact checker like madly typing, trying to figure out if I'm right about the Democrats. And the only comeback they could come up with was they were like, well, but Morgan Carroll, who's the chairman of the Democrats, she is a woman. Thankfully, it was a little too late, but I wish I would have said, and Morgan Carroll lost to Mike Coffman for Congress. How was that a winning team? But anyway, we deal with the media every day. You guys are used to the bias of the media. And a big question that I often get as the chairman is, so what are we going to do about it as Republicans? How are we going to get our message out there when we're dealing with the supermajority control of Democrats here in the state of Colorado, when we're dealing with a president in the White House who, because of his energy policies, gas has risen $1 in 4 months, and I don't think it's done going up. The world is falling apart and countries are fighting each other. That only happened once Biden got in office. That wasn't happening under President Trump. This is what we're dealing with. And we, especially in Colorado, are very hard hit with King Polis. absolutely what he deserves to be called. And everyone in Boulder and Denver thinking they can run the state of Colorado. We look at Jared Polis from Denver, he's from Boulder. Phil Weiser is also from Boulder, our Attorney General. Secretary of State Jenna Griswold is also from Boulder. Majority Leader in the Senate Stephen Fenberg is from Boulder. Alec Garnett, Speaker of the House, is from Boulder. And we could go on down the list about all the Denver, Boulder liberals who think they can control our state. And that is what we have to highlight over the next 2 years. The Democrats are the party of control. We are the party who believes in individual choice for every single person. And we are the only party who believes that every single person should have a voice. We hear, I'm sure you've heard, just like I have, that old white men don't get a say anymore, which I think covers about maybe a third of our room right here. What I always tell people is, my dad is an old white man. My husband is one day going to be an old white man, and my son will grow up to be an old white man. I don't think that they shouldn't have a voice and that they shouldn't have a choice in society today because of their gender and race, two things they didn't choose for themselves. As Republicans, we know that we have right on our side. We have always been the party with the principles, the Constitution, and the right ideology. But I think what we have forgotten are two things. First of all, we have to stay the party with the right ideology. I'm a constitutional attorney. I understand we are the only party that actually believes in free speech, freedom of religion, and equal protection under the law. The right version of it, not the ACLU version of it. And we can never compromise on those principles and that right ideology that is the solid foundation our party is built on. But we have to move beyond that and once again become the party of ideas. That is what Ronald Reagan captured so well for the Republicans, and that is what brought so many unaffiliateds and moderate Democrats over to vote for him all across our nation. Because he captured the idea of what it meant to be America. And the ideas that would affect our jobs, our kids, our families, and our own opportunity to explore and expand the American dream in the way we each saw fit for ourselves in our own lives. He was able to capture that in a positive, forward-facing, visionary way that idealized what America is and why so many people seek to come to our country from all over the world. He captured the spirit of America. And Colorado, we are a Western state. We believe in independent thought. But the Democrats are slamming it down every day at the Capitol in Denver. They are slamming down your right to choose your jobs, your ability to keep your industry, agriculture, rural Colorado, oil and gas in our state. They're slamming that down and kicking it out every door they can. They are telling parents that you should not have the choice to bring a charter school into your district. Who cares if it helps minority and economically disadvantaged children? Who cares if it's a record-breaking charter school that performs better than any other neighborhood public school in the area? They don't care because they want to control where your children go to school, what they're taught, what they wear on their faces, and what they put in their bodies. They also don't care about the seniors who have spent their entire life working and paying off the house they live in. They're going to jack up their property taxes anyway.
They have.
Because they want that money, because guess what? They can control your money and spend it better than you can. They also do not care about the American dream in Colorado anymore, because there's only one version of that. And that's the Democrat version of the American dream, which, if you ask me, is a pretty big nightmare, not a dream anymore. And we have to return to being the party of ideas again. The ideas that bring choice back into people's lives. That capture the ideal that every American, no matter how you look, where you were born, or who you are, you have the right to guide your own life. You have the right to self-determination and personal responsibility. That is what has made America the greatest nation on earth. That is what has kept Colorado an independent Western state until we have been governed by Democrats for decades. I would like to throw back to the last Republican governor we had in Colorado, Bill Owens. Why did he win? What did he do that was right? He ran on 3 specific ideas that everyone in Colorado could understand, could see how it would affect their own lives, and could identify with. He ran on a specific transportation project, he ran on a tax cut, and he ran on bringing more education opportunities to minority areas in Colorado. Now, I'm pretty sure anyone, Republican, unaffiliated, or Democrat, can get on board with better roads, with tax cuts, and with school choice. That's what he did, and then when he got elected, guess what? He delivered on those promises that he made. Which reminds me of President Trump. He made promises and he kept them. That's a hallmark of Republican leadership, not Democrat leadership. We see Jared Polis in office. Whatever the voters say when they say that no oil and gas setbacks should be permanent across the state, when they say that we should get to vote on fees and taxes, do the Democrats respect that? No. Do they keep their word to the voters when Jared Polis campaigned and said that he wouldn't impose 250 feet setbacks? Well, I mean, I'm sorry, he was going to impose 200 feet setbacks. Didn't you know that? I mean, that's different from 250 feet. That's the Democrat style of playing with the minds and the choices and the will of the voters of Colorado. They will say whatever they need to say to get our votes. And then when they get in office, it is all about control. And it is up to us, every single one of us in this room, to expose that. In personal conversations, when we talk to our friends who are unaffiliated voters, who are moderate Democrat voters, because yes, we need to target them too. We can win over moderate Democrat voters in Colorado in 2022 because their party has gone so extreme. In fact, many of their elected officials across the state are proudly saying on their social media that they are now democratic socialists. They are broadcasting that all over social media, and they're proud to say it because they believe they have such control over the state of Colorado that they can now say exactly who they are. But most Coloradans are not okay with socialism. Socialism is precisely what controls people and says that you no longer have the right to make a choice about your jobs, your families, your house, and your American dream. That is socialism. That is not the Democrat Party, but it is what they have become, and we have to expose them for it. I'm going to take it a step further, though, because this is how I think we win. It's not enough just to expose the Democrats for their socialist propensities. It's not enough to talk about all the ways they hurt our lives, kick our jobs out of the state, tell our kids what to think, and control and force their version of the American dream on us. We have to do that, but it's not enough. We have to become the party of ideas. We have to contrast what they do with what is better for Colorado. What would Republican leadership look like in our state again? We have to identify it and describe it as something that people can latch onto and hold onto and say, this is what life actually looks like in Colorado. This summer, you will see something come out from the state party called the Republican Contract with Colorado. It is going to be an actual document that you can print, that you can walk your neighborhoods with, that you can use to start conversations with voters anywhere in Colorado. And it is going to have 10 specific issues that we can show any voter across the state. If you elect Republicans in Colorado, here's what you can count on. Here are the promises we will deliver on. Here is exactly how Republican leadership would look night and day different from King Polis's leadership in Denver. From Boulder controlling the state of Colorado. From people who travel on 16th Street Mall in Denver thinking they know that wolves should be released in Colorado for rural Colorado. I guarantee you if they set those wolves loose on 16th Street Mall, there would have been a different vote. These 10 issues, let me tell you how we're deciding what they are. They are not coming from my brain, thankfully. I always tell everyone when I took the California bar exam, I'm a constitutional attorney, I did pass it on my first try, but I was pregnant with my daughter. So I had 2 brains working for me. And she is legitimately very smart, so I really believe it. I think it's true. And we don't need my brain coming up with the 10 issues. We don't need one person coming up with those issues. Because if I asked all of you Republicans in this room, what do you think unaffiliated and swing voters vote on? What issues do you think they care about? What issues do they look at when they're voting for a candidate? We probably have some great ideas, but who knows best what unaffiliated voters vote on? Unaffiliated voters. And so there was a really great poll done, funded by a third-party organization who had the money to pay for an excellent poll, on what unaffiliated voters base their votes on what issues they care about here in Colorado. That is the first lens we are taking these 10 issues through. They are issues identified by unaffiliated and swing voters. Then number two, the second lens we take it through, is these have to be issues that do not alienate our base. We are not Democrat light. We believe in the Constitution for a reason. We understand the foundations of America and the principles upon which this country was founded and still stands today. So these issues will not make us like the Democrat Party. This issue will establish us firmly still as Republicans here in Colorado. Our base will believe in these issues because it is what we have been fighting for centuries, since Abraham Lincoln. And thirdly, the third lens these issues are taken through is that they have to be issues that will clearly differentiate our candidates from Democrat candidates. They have to be issues where there is a night and day difference between where we stand and where the Democrats stand. And then this contract with Colorado is going to be coming out in June or July, so I want you to watch for it. We're going to make a big deal out of it. There's going to be a big PR effort associated with it, and it's going to build. Because we're going to campaign on this contract with Colorado starting this summer, but all the way through November of 2022, when Republicans take back Colorado, when we take back the United States House, and when we take back the United States Senate. That is what we're going to do. So I want you to keep your eye out for it, because the only way this contract with Colorado works, we can get the media, we can get the PR, but if we don't have people on the ground having conversations with these unaffiliated and swing voters and your moderate Democrat friends, we don't have you out there. Easy conversations to have people that we can have far before we're ever selling a candidate. And they can renew the image that people have of Republicans in Colorado. As you know, we are often typed as the party that does not care, the party that only has facts and statistics, but no stories and no emotions on our side. We all know that's not true, but we have to fight fire with fire. I am tired of Republicans only caring about the fact that we are right and forgetting that we need to go get power. If we want the right things to be done, if we want the Constitution to be protected, if we want the human rights of every single person to be guarded by our government and not infringed upon, we need seats in the House. We need seats in the Senate. We need our person in the governor's mansion. We don't need Democrats there anymore. So, we need to move beyond only being the party who is right all the time. We're going to keep being right. But we need to be the party that wins, the party that takes back the power, and the party that is willing to get out there and do whatever it takes on the ground to take that power from the Democrats and send them packing out of Denver, back to Boulder, where they belong. There's a really great quote that I read recently that I want to share with you. I actually don't know who said it, I wish I did. But it says this, it says, "Risk can be dangerous, but routine can be deadly." Doing the same thing over and over, it just doesn't work. Comfort has killed more dreams than daring ever did. And we have to remember that it is the year for us to take risks. It is the year for us to step out there and dare, once again, to believe that we can win Colorado for the Republican Party. We can put conservatives in power once again. We can stand up for the lives of every child, every senior, every parent, every old white man, and every person of every race all across Colorado. We as Republicans, we are the party for all communities, for all neighborhoods, for all counties, for all cities, and for all people in the state of Colorado. That is who we are. We are the party for all, and the Democrats don't get to take that away from us. We are the party that can create a better future for Colorado, and that is what I want all of you to latch onto and believe with passion in your hearts when you leave. Yes, we can slam down the Democrats, and you better believe we're going to keep doing it. But we have to paint Colorado's better future. We have to show the path forward to what Colorado can become again. People have to see, when they see our candidates, that there is something to believe in. There is something that we promise them that we can deliver on. We cannot skip that vital step of adding a positive vision, real concrete steps, and real promises that people can hold on to and know that they can count on us to deliver. So that is my message to you tonight. Hold on. Keep your hopes alive. Know that together, with every single one of our voices on the ground speaking out, hope is far more powerful than fear. And choices are far more powerful than control. And we have both of those, hope and real choices for people, on our side, while all they have is fear and control. We have something better. And we have the future in our hands for Colorado, if we will take hold of it and lead Colorado to the right place. That's what we're going to do. And before I am done, I'm going to make an ask of all of you. How many of you are familiar with the Redistricting Commission in Colorado? Good, a lot of you. I'm very glad. There is a Legislative Redistricting Commission and a Congressional Redistricting Commission. It's very good for Republicans because so far the Colorado Supreme Court has drawn maps in Colorado. Colorado State House is the most gerrymandered legislative chamber for Democrats in the entire nation. If the lines are drawn in a fair way, as they are supposed to be, as the voters said that these independent redistricting commissions could do, we should be able to compete and win 5 state Senate seats. All we need to do is win 3 of those to take back the state Senate. There should be 5 state House seats at least where we can win. Now we need to win 9 to take back that chamber, but even winning 5 would take away the Democrats' huge advantage on the committees. Where right now, even if you sway 1 Democrat vote on a committee, it's not enough to get a terrible bill killed, because they have such a majority on these committees. So we need to take back ground in that House too. And do we want the Democrats to win in redistricting Lauren Boebert and Doug Lamborn into bad Democrat areas? So if we don't want to see that happen, we again have to use our voice, use our bodies, show up and be there. These redistricting commissions will be in your congressional district. Right now the timing is set to be between mid-July and mid-August. 3 meetings in each congressional district, and they're open for public comment. The preliminary maps will be available, and all I need from you is to commit that you will be there and that you will bring other people with you. Because I'll tell you, the Democrats are already on the ground hiring staff trying to recruit people to show up to these meetings. They're trying every way they can to be clever and delay the commissions, delay the maps, or at the very least bring so many people to speak at these meetings that the commission will be influenced to change the maps, because so many people in the district oppose it. We have to compete with that. We cannot fumble this. These redistricting maps matter for the future of Colorado. They will matter for the next 10 years, and likely even longer than that. So, we need you to show up, and guess what? We will provide you, the state party will provide you with the information you need to speak to the maps. If we like the maps, we still need to be there. If we don't like the maps, we need to be there. Our job is to make sure these maps are fair, because if they are fair, Republicans will win back seats in the state legislature in Colorado, and we will be able to re-elect Lauren Boebert and Doug Lamborn and Ken Buck and win the 8th congressional district. That's another thing we've got to do in Colorado. So your job is to... Thank you. Thank you. I love you, thank you. We will be posting these meetings on our state party website. We will be giving all the information to your county chair. I will be talking about it in my update emails. I have a weekly video I do every week. If you don't get any of this, go to cologop.org, that's COLOGOP.org, and sign up. We will get you the information. You just need to be there. And I'm going to close with this. Congresswoman Boebert reminded me of a story I told last year when we were at a meeting together. And I'm going to close with this. You all know who Patrick Henry is? Give me liberty or give me death? Classic American statement there. And that would be a classic Republican statement only, which is sad. He was invited to go to the Constitutional Convention because he was one of the founding fathers of our nation. But he, at the time, was a bigger fan of the Articles of Confederation, which was very unworkable for the United States, but did centralize more power in states instead of the federal government. He was a huge proponent of states' rights. He decided not to go. His state of Virginia really wanted Patrick Henry to show up. They knew his opposition to the current version of the Constitution. They knew he would speak up for more states' rights. But he chose not to go, because he was so opposed to the idea of a Constitution, and he wasn't willing to go and debate it out and have that conversation and do what he could to put more states' rights into the Constitution. He said that he was going to stay home. And that's what he did. And we'll never know in American history, our Constitution is the most wonderful governing document in the world. But could it have been better? Could it have taken away more rights from the federal government, more power from the federal government, and entrusted more of it to the states? Could it have done that if Patrick Henry would have showed up one more time? And I'm sure many of you here, you've showed up time and time and time again. You might be weary, you might be exhausted. You fought your hearts out in 2020 and we lost a lot. But I'm going to ask you to show up one more time. I know you have it in you, so please join me in showing up one more time, because I think we can do it together. Thank you all so much.